Hello everybody and welcome to round 5 of the GPVWC Formula Challenge live here today from the Catalonia circuit here in Spain. My name's Liam Jenkins and alongside me to call all the action is Oscar Hardwick. And Oscar, 38 seconds roughly left of qualifying. We had an amazing round last time out of Hungary. There have unfortunately been a few grid penalties, so we'll try and sort all those out for you, but provisionally it's still a familiar face up front with Emmanuel Gagzella provisionally on par with 6.9 tenths quicker than Kevin Westphal in second, and it's looking so far, Oscar, that Emmanuel's just been consistent at every round so far.
He has indeed. He's been the guy who's shown that no matter the track, no matter the conditions, he can bring pace and run at the front. And I also believe he's not got a grid penalty from last time out, so that's a very solid provisional pole for him. I believe it's either Adrian McNaughton down in 6th or John Monroe in 7th, who will be the first people after that without the 5-place grid penalty. So those two could be looking at potential front row starts as well.
Yeah, indeed. John Monroe's again, I've watched his progress since his career started a couple of years back now, I think. And again, just like Danny Asprey, another guy to come from the world of kind of closed cockpit touring car racing in Touring Pro Series. He's come over here today and again looking quick. So these touring car drivers fancying a bit of a taste of what it's like in these Formula Challenge cars. And with a chance of starting alongside possibly Emmanuel Gagzella, you've got to fancy his chances of perhaps a top 5 here. And again, we still do have that brand new reverse grid order kind of concept in the second race for now. But 17 laps of the Catalonia circuit. Oscar, you've driven a considerable amount of time here around the circuit. What's the car feeling like out there?
Well, I've been struggling with tyres a lot actually, and I've heard the same from a lot of people. The new thing that we've got this week is, shockingly, another dry round, which no one was really expecting, but not had any rain. The big thing is actually the temperature difference. Quite a lot of wind and air moving through quite a reasonable amount of cloud movement, and we've actually seen lows of track temperature in practice sessions of 21, 22 degrees, and we've also seen up to 34, 35 degrees. So you can either have near on perfect around that 20 degree mark where your tyres last, but they go over 30 and you're going to be chewing them to bits in basically turn 3.
Yeah, and obviously pit strategy is going to be quite crucial here as well. There's been some drivers saying they're maybe quite confident they can make it through the race, others saying they can get maybe a good 10 to 12 laps out of them. Does that all depend on the temperature of the track, do you reckon?
Almost 100%. When the track stickies up, when it gets hotter, you do get improved grip. The problem with that grip though is the car starts gripping too much, it grains the tyres, it heats the tyres too quickly, and you then start struggling with understeer or oversteer dependent on the setup that you're running. So, it'll definitely be a case of you'll see a couple of faster laps if it's hotter, but you certainly won't be seeing as many people managing to get to the end.
Indeed, so we're at the end of qualifying. We'll wait for the grid to be officially confirmed as to who starts where. As you said, there's quite a lot of penalties looming over us from the Hungarian round, and for those of you who didn't quite catch a Hungarian round, again, it was very entertaining. We saw some nice performances from perhaps some underdogs that will be considered in this league, and also the kind of rise and fall of Simic, who were considerably in the wars this time. We said before, Oscar, that they're one of the most consistent teams out there, both of them suffering quite massive collisions.
Indeed, they did, and obviously the biggest of those was Pedro Melim having what was essentially a blowover going down the main straight, something that you very, very rarely see, and particularly in these open wheelers where they've got the downforce to keep them on the track, but both of them, I believe, ending their races on the lids.
Yeah, they're really kind of hoping for retribution here today. They've been so consistent up until that point, taking points in every race, so guys like Ryan Gilmore, who could potentially be a contender if you do see perhaps a downfall of Emmanuel Gagzella, but on the other side, that's not looking too likely, with he's potentially claimed another pole position, having not got a grid penalty. That Storm Racing Team driver, again, looking very consistent, 7/10 of a second almost clear of the closest car.
Yeah, well, it was only 3/10 in the end. Brad Wright got in a stunner of a final lap with a 29.4 to only be 3/10 behind Emmanuel Gagzella. The only guy that you could say is even within reasonable touching distance of the current championship leader, I believe Emmanuel Gagzella is now.
And if you take a look to the skies as well at the moment as the car make their way around the circuit for this 10-minute warm-up session, the clouds are looking considerably darker than they were a few minutes ago.
Indeed, and we've seen this a lot. It's to do with the high cloud movement. There's not actually a lot of humidity in the air or in the clouds as well. They're very, very high up. They get dark, but so far we've not seen any rain. That's not to count it out. There's still a very low chance that you could get a bit of drizzle here or there, and well, that would certainly shake things up. But I'm not expecting to see rain, but the larger cloud cover can more often than not lead to ever so slightly lower track temperatures, which are exactly what we're seeing at the moment with an ambient of 18 degrees and a track temperature of 25.
Yeah, so really tricky conditions for these drivers. And do you think that with the track conditions ever changing and, you know, you're doing all this practice, for instance, with a track being at maybe 20 to 25, then the next day's at 30 to 35, is it difficult to try and get a setup nailed? Is it different for each kind of track temperature, do you think?
It's very different, and like the problem is you need to go for a compromise, and the best compromise is to assume it will be cold because the track will heat up anyway. And if the track starts colder, then it will heat up quicker with more cars driving around, so you need to aim for the middle ground with your setup, which is between 27 to 30 degrees, basically.
You'll have to wait and see kind of who's the master of that setup at the moment. You can see the two Fogel Motorsports cars of Jeremy Allen and Patrick Fogel on the circuit, and Fogel Motorsports both had a very good run last time.
They did indeed, and Fogel have pretty much since Malaysia, where they had a very, very daring little race where they kept on the slicks for much longer than everyone else chose to in race 2, and gave themselves good results that because of it. They've shown pace, and we've seen that Jeremy Allen is absolutely blistering fast when he puts a lap together. I mean, maybe didn't get what he wanted quite in qualifying, but he is certainly doing alright.
We'll see if their performance can carry over into this race, but in terms of the championship standings, it's still Manuel Gagzella who retains that massive lead, and he really has been consistent, as we say. He's had so many victories and podiums this season. He's only had one result, I think, outside the podium, so really is kind of a hot shot when it comes to this race. And do you think maybe he's going to be the driver to dictate the pace of the field when it comes to the track conditions, or do you think there could be a few drivers like Brad Wright who could maybe show up into turn 1? It's a very tricky opening corner, and do you think maybe if he can get his nose in or a better run that we could see a bit of close action at the front of the field as opposed to a runaway?
It's possible. I mean, with the introduction of launch control, which is evening out the starts considerably more than we've seen in the past, and well, basically that flat out, I'm not sure if it is flat out on these cars, but very, very fast turn 3, the first overtaking opportunity in reality for the people at the front who do have that ever so slightly shorter run into turn 1 is likely to be on the brakes into turn 4, so that's where I'm going to be watching to see if anyone's close enough to be making moves. Might see 1 or 2 into turn 1, but I just don't believe that with the launch control levelling things out as it has been, that you're going to see as many as you normally would.
Yeah, it's a good point, of course, launch control being introduced last weekend, and we did see a considerable less amount of incidents. It was great to watch, and a lot of the field surviving the entire race. The attrition rate was relatively low compared to what you've seen in previous rounds. And do you think that maybe now we've had one trial run with the launch control, that a lot of drivers are going to be getting used to it and maybe favouring it as opposed to the old style starts?
Well, I've done a few sort of fun races with people here and there with the launch control on these things recently, and it's so much quicker. I don't physically see how you could consistently have another way of getting the car off the line that is as quick as the launch control. So not only is it a lot safer for everyone to use, but it's also the most competitive option, and in that sense it's really, really a great addition to the league, because not only is there no reason to not be using it, but it does allow you to get those safe starts and have more people getting around the first lap.
And I'll only spice up the action later on. So 5 minutes of warm-up to go, and currently Franz Schneider is the fastest man on the circuit for Racing Team Schroten. Whoopi Herx was in second, Patrick Fogel and his teammate Jeremy Allen for Fogel Motorsports in third and fourth. Then you got Eichel Clamp in P5, Thomas Hazard in P6, and Emmanuel Gagzella, who hasn't set a lap. So there's still a few drivers who haven't set laps out there. One of them is actually Ryan Gilmore. He's apparently done 4 laps this session, but not one of them has counted. So maybe struggling with the track conditions or grip on the tyres. But, you know, the warm-up session in this race, we've got 10 minutes. We've said this before about how different drivers approach this kind of warm-up session. Do you practice the starts? And with the new launch control and the run down to turn 1, how important is it to get a good one off the line heading into that first corner? And do you think a lot of drivers will be trying to practice the launch control starts?
Maybe once or twice, but they certainly won't be gaining a competitive advantage off the start in most cases by using it, because obviously everyone else around them will be. The main talking point, this is going to be the first round that the Formula Challenge has used the RF scan that has been introduced to GPVWC to monitor all of the drivers going on during the race, make sure that everything is as clean as a whistle, which in all fairness it is very likely to be. No problems popped up when it was first run in the World Sports Series at Hungaroring last week on the Wednesday, so likely that no problems will pop up this time.
And again, it's just another great addition to the league. It's great to see just how much is being pumped into this league now, and trying to push it to that next level and make it as clean and competitive as possible. And, you know, you are going to have a couple of drivers who don't agree with it or want to try and shake it up still. But overall, it does increase the quality of the racing. I think it's been a great decision by the league admins, and I'm sure that we're only going to see the proper turnout of this during the race when drivers maybe, if they're trying to monitor what they're doing with the RF scan, then they may try and take it a bit cleaner or be a bit more cautious when entering a couple of the opening corners.
Yeah, well, the RF scan's not so much for that, as much as it is for making sure that the cars are... treat it as going to Parc Ferme and having officials make sure all of the bolts are in check and whatnot on your car after a session. In the real world, that's how RF scan is being used here. It's making sure everything is in check with your car. There's nothing illegal going on. And the truth is, it's a precautionary measure. There's nothing really that would suggest that any of these drivers, particularly in Formula Challenge, have been using that, or anything that would suggest that their cars are out of line whatsoever. So far, it's just doing its job. It's there as a safety. It's a backup. It's not something that is used prominently to catch people out. It's there so that, you know, no one has any thoughts about doing so in the future. Should they want to be more competitive, it's now forcing them to get more competitive through practice as opposed to trying to figure out any other means.
Indeed, 2 minutes 35 left in the session now, and Dave Fiddock takes his Simic to the top of the timesheets with a 1:30.143. And fuel could also be an issue today. You know, we've seen this in the past where drivers, if they're banking on doing a pit stop, they want to try and just get just enough fuel in the car. But if you're not sure how many laps you can get out of the tyres, you know, you're roughly going to have about 10 to 13 laps of tyre wear, depending on how cautious you are. So do you think drivers will try and go the whole way and catch people out, or will they try and pit early on and run their car light for the first stint?
Well, I'm not sure. We saw last time out that the overall strong strategy was to try and manage the tyres and not stop. And again, that also takes away the various uncertainties with running different fuel loads. So I'm hoping to say that we'll see more people try and run the race, and that we will get close racing throughout and not throw people off. There'll just be a definite, the guy that wins was the guy that was quickest sort of thing come the end, as opposed to the guy who won was the quickest and a bit cleverer than everyone else come the end. So
we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out as we approach the sessions end. The drivers just getting into maybe the final bit of racing mindset now, especially Emmanuel Gagzella, who's going to start right at the front of the field. And with all these penalties as well, he may be starting just in front of guys who are nowhere near as quick as him. Do you think that's going to be a bit of a motivation boost for him, or do you think he's still going to be very wary of the cars around him?
I'm sure he'll be very wary, and we saw last time out he's a very aggressive racer, but he's aware of where people are on track. He did a good job of moving through, so everyone's going to be on guard and being alert on these starts. You've got almost 40 cars, I believe, today will be starting, so everyone's going to have their eyes open. And it will be interesting to see how it goes. And last time out, the starts were great, and this time we can hope that the starts will be equally as great.
Yes, so the tension's about to build, and 40 seconds left in this session. The driver's just trying to get their minds together now, make sure everything's perfect on that car for the start of the race, and maybe try and plan their run into the opening corner. It's a very tight opening corner. You don't really have a lot of overtaking opportunities, but at the same time there's a wide runoff, and we're almost guaranteed to see a couple of cars run wide and maybe lose a couple of positions. So they'll be hoping to try and hold that inside line and get through cleanly.
Indeed, as I believe now, I've actually managed to get myself access to the official grid, so I'm going to run you through that one. So, no surprises, not carrying any grid penalties from last time out. Emmanuel Gagzella has gotten the pole by quite some way. Now, you're going to get straight into penalties. A few people that will stand out of position here. Second on the grid is going to be John Munro with Pedro Mellin third. Menno Klont has managed to hold on to grab himself a fourth position with Franz Snyder in fifth. Sven Smith is going to be sixth with Brad Wright in seventh. Kevin Westphal has gotten eighth with Jeremy Allen qualifying ninth. Hansco Mebius is rounding out the top 10. Thomas Jacobs is going to be starting 11th with Matt Clip 12th. 13th is Paul Joseph with Danny Asbury 14th. Adrian McNaughton, my mistake there, has obviously got quite a few penalties. He's all the way back down in 15th now with Ryan Gilmore starting 16th. Mike Schroten is in 17th position with Patrick Fogel 18th. Eric Tveit is in 19th, and rounding out our top 20 qualifiers is Mikko Ykkönen.
There you go then, a very shaken up grid, and a lot of guys maybe shuffled around a bit. One guy that we're going to be interested to keep an eye on is John Munro, starting in second position, rounding out his front row, and on his debut as well. It's going to be such a motivation boost for the young Scotsman.
Indeed it is, and well, I've just seen there, second on the grid, wide-eyed, thinking, oh no, I've just been put right centre stage. But John Munro is a guy that can definitely handle himself in a racing situation. I think he's definitely going to be trying to make the most of it. And of course, lots of people behind him, they've been moved up. The people directly behind him, he was quicker than in qualifying.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
So it's the infamous words of R Factor ring around our ears and possibly deafen some of us. We get ready to race here for Catalonia. 17 laps of the circuit. John Munro starts second behind Emmanuel Gagzella, Melin third, Claude fourth, Schneider rounds out the top five, and then you got Sven Smitzer in the Logix Razor Motorsports team. His teammate Kevin Westphal sits directly behind him as a bit of rear gunner support there in P8, and Logix as well looked fairly good last time round. Both Kevin was looking very strong, trying to get some points for the team. Matt Clip for Royal Blue also played a factor in the past couple of races, especially in race 2. He was able to manoeuvre his way through the field quite nicely. We're going to do the same during the opening round here today as Gagzella leads the field off the line for the formation lap here at Catalonia.
Indeed, you could just hear there that Emmanuel Gagzella was making sure he had all of his binds sorted out for the launch control, doing what was essentially a simulated start off the line. Very clever thing to do. It does make sure you've got everything working, and I think if you didn't have your launch control working, you'd probably have to go to pit lane and start from there.
And especially if you're in Emmanuel's position as well, started right at the front of the field, potentially a championship contender after taking 153 points from the 8 races so far. It'll be a very, very silly thing to do to make sure that it's not working. You want it all to be perfect, and you try and get the run off the line. But what must be going right now through John Ted? You saw he was wide-eyed in the chow after finding out he started second, but on his debut, started on the front row, a massive stage there. He's got possibly the most dominating driver just out in front of him with Ari Nieminen not showing today. Pedro Melin just behind. It's a prime opportunity for him to make a name for himself.
Indeed it is. I mean, I think with a top 10 qualifying on outright pace alone, that's a very respectable way to make your debut in GPVWC Formula Challenge. Getting yourself right up there straight away, showing that you've got pace. Be interesting to see how he handles the racing. Like you say, John Munro predominantly been driving touring cars and things with roofs on. These open wheelers, different beasts to tame, different beasts to race with. Be interesting to see how he does.
It will indeed, and you can see now Gagzella's coming towards that final chicane just before the last corner, and it can catch so many people out. Those anti-cut strips are so high, the elevation change as well does not make turning the car through there easy, especially if the track's cold, the tyres are cold, especially in the opening laps. You're side by side trying to fight for position. I think we could see a couple of incidents through there today.
I'm sure that we will, and it just takes one little moment of not quite getting the apex right, overdoing it, and if you hit the anti-cuts with the rear wheels, then these things are so stiff, I wouldn't be surprised if you just go straight round.
So now all the hard work over the past 2 weeks come down to this, and Gagzella starts once again from pole position. Question is, can he end there in a few moments' time? 17 laps are about to get underway here at the Spanish circuit. Hopefully the sun stays out, the racing stays clean, and we're going to see another fantastic addition to the GPVWC Formula Challenge calendar. And the question is, who will be the man on the top step of the podium? We wait for those infamous red lights. The field line up all behind now. They're just settling into their grid spots and have their eyes fixed on the lights. Here we go then, feet slightly above the throttle. The hearts begin to pound as we have 3, 4 red lights. The engines begin to rev. The launch control gets turned on now, and we're away. A good start there by Gagzella, leaving Munro for Dunstall. Motor Melin sets in device contact in the background and a massive crash.
Indeed, something that we've not seen for an entire round, but that's taken out a number of people. I'm seeing wings everywhere. That's John Hicken that's not got a front wheel as well. Just run of bad luck seems to be continuing there. That's got to be look at the moment.
There's going to be a race restart on it. There's a lot of cars caught up in that. Gagzella still leads out from Munro at the moment. Just behind Pedro Melin is looking very racy. Being stalked, however, by the man in 4th, who is Frank Schneider. Brad Rice up into 5th place. 6th is Sven Smits. Mebius.
Oh, and Schneider. Straight down the inside there of Melin. Oh,
and the two Cynic cars as well, you can see they're almost side by side trying to battle themselves past Kevin Westphal, who's up to P9. They're both sure you're going to pass him around the outside, or definitely try it. As Gilmore fancies his chances on the inside for this corner. He may very well be followed by his teammate very shortly. We've seen this before as well with Cynic and Vogel, both of them so evenly competitive, run so close together, and right now we're seeing it just as much as the Vogel cars also together as they enter this corner, and you can see Westphal's doing a good job of holding off that purple flare at the moment, but he gets a bit loose coming out of the corner. Still in front of the field though, Gagzella is sure to lead the first lap.
Dean Gilmore there has actually managed to make the move on his teammate Fiddick.
So already then tension to begin to rise. They come through the final corner, and we are ready for the final stand, well, opening lap standing. So Gagzella comes across the line in P1, there's P2 John Munro still continuing there. Third place is Pedro Mellin and Fran Schneider. They go side by side, Mellin on the inside, Schneider trying to challenge around the outside of turn 1, could not quite get the momentum he needed and will settle for a slipstream. He's got to be very careful though. Brad Wright is pretty handy right behind these two.
Yeah, and you did mention Simon Smith. Another stunner from him, somehow not crashing into everyone on the grid, up into 18th position.
Fighting very hard there with Whooper Herkstra as well. He's definitely trying to get that Optimum Sim Racing past him. Can't quite get it done through there. He will be in the slipstream, but followed by Sven de Varos as well. He's going to be trying to hold him off as Sven goes on the inside and again could not quite make it stick. Catalunya, very difficult to make a pass here as Smith takes the defensive line. Bit of a lock-up, but at the front already, Gagzella's got a 1.9 second lead over John Munro as they go through the second sector. Yeah,
and Schneider's managed to make his way past Pedro Mellon and Brad Wright, who was of course provisionally second on his outright time, but got moved back to 7th through grid penalties. He's now closing up to the back of Pedro Mellon. He's going to be wanting to challenge for a podium. He knows his pace is there and he is going to be pushing like you would not believe to get his car on one of those steps.
Yeah, and people as low as 29th there from the grid, so everyone from 29th down to 38th are in the pit lane at the moment, so a massive amount of cars were caught up in that one. The rest of them though seem to be handling the pressure quite well. So a quick run through the top 5 as we come towards the end of lap number 2 then. Manuel Gonzalez still leads now 2.5 seconds after starting a fastest lap of the race. John Munro 2nd, Fran Schneider 3rd, Mellin 4th now, Brad Wright in 5th, and you can see this could be a bit imperative as that traffic now starts to leave the pit lane. They're going to be very careful about where they rejoin.
Dean Wayne Reed getting right out of the way there. Reasonable job from him. It looks like there's not been any other dramas with cars coming out the pit lane just yet, although I'm seeing Mike Bell at the moment with no front or rear wing and he's still circulating, which is a bit concerning.
They need to try and get that car home as soon as possible, and there is Dave Finnegan trying to catch the battling Mebius and Westphal. Westphal on the outside takes a position provisionally and takes P7. Question is, can Mebius fight back, or will he suffer another loss as that Simming Motorsports car of Fiddick looms very large of pressure there? Then you've got the Waters Automotive of Mike Schroten just behind.
Sorry to break in on you here, but Brad Wright is looking to make a move on Pedro Mellon for 4th at the moment. Those guys very close, and is that, yeah, that's Smith's just behind as well, looking to reap the benefit should anything go wrong for the two in front.
See how these guys fare then as they're coming towards that all-important chicane, arguably one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit, but also one of the most risky as they enter it now. A little bit wiggly there on exit for Brad Wright, but he gets the car nice and straightened up. Got to be so careful in this situation. That Logix Razor Motorsports of Sven will be right behind him, and so it's interesting to see. We've only got a few teams inside the top 10. You've got both Simics there, both Logix there, and it's, you know, both Vogels as well. They're all 6 drivers out of the top 10 who are all there desperately trying to vie for points, consistency being the key. We've got some side-by-side action a bit further down. Eric Tveit up to P13, impressive as he overtakes Jeremy Allen for P13. Now sets his sights on Mike Schroten. Got to be careful though.
One Brad Wright's gone right the way out right. That's going to open the doors for Sven Smith. I was about to say that his oversteer setup was going to be helping him with a bit of understeer, but obviously not as he closes the door on Smith's going into turn 4.
He's got a Logix blur behind him as well, and just look at them swarming around trying to pass him. Smith goes up the inside and locks up things a bit better on that one. It's a bit too early for that, Sven. Just try and keep a lid on it for now and see what the race brings. Simming just behind them, Dave Fiddick gaining ever closer as these guys are locked in battle. And Pedro Mellon is holding up quite the train there now.
Well, I was racing with Pedro in World Sports Series, and he is an absolutely stunning defensive driver. So these guys are going to have more than just a little bit on their hands if they want to get past him.
Oh, and a big lockup as well by Sven Smith. He almost hit the back there of poor Brad Wright, but luckily got that car straightened up just in time. Kevin Westphal acting as a really gunner support for the team as he tries to hold off Fiddick as they enter that chicane for the end of lap number 3. And you can see already just how close those guys are. But again, by no means are these slow drivers.
Oh,
Very
and
good
Mellon's made a
competitive, very
mistake.
racy. You've seen it all season. And Pedro Mellon comes under pressure from right through the final corner. A drag race into turn 1 it is. Then question is, who had a better run? Now you can see as well, Sven Smith wants a bit of the action, goes to the inside. We've got 3 wide for the first corner. Who's going to come out on top though as they will pile in towards it? The Cynic side by side as well, almost in contact. And Mellon somehow comes out with a position. The swarm of cars behind him arrange themselves, but Mellon, right on the outside line, tucks the back underneath, takes a position and allows these 4 drivers, they're almost 4 wide there, to just battle amongst themselves.
Indeed, fantastic little bit of driving there from Pedro to keep it pointing in the right direction, just up ahead, and we've had Schneider actually get round Munro, so Munro currently in 3rd position as Brad Wright moves Pedro Mellon out of the way there to grab onto 4th position. Bit of push, bit of shove, but that's just the way the racing was getting.
And you can see just the amount of cars which are slowly starting to build up now. You've got people as low as Mebiusa, who's in P9 at the moment. He's latched well into the back of this train. P10 is Ryan Gilmore, who's being closely followed by the 2 Fairgold Motorsports cars. They're also on the edge of that train. In fact, the train goes all the way down the field to approximately around P17, who's currently Mika Jäkkinen.
Indeed. In all fairness, in qualifying, we saw the closeness of the field, and that mixed with all of the people as Kevin Westphal gets around Pedro Mellon as well now. So Pedro falling back like a stone, maybe got some tyre wear issues and not quite done as much race testing as Brad Smith's gone wide in the final corner. He's left himself open for attack from, who's that? As Westphal who's attacking him. Sven Smits has fallen back, he's trying to make a move, and Fiddick looks to the inside of Smits. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1 again with Pedro Mellon, Sven Smits and David Fiddick, as Westphal has managed to get around Brad Wright before they get to turn 1. Who's it going to be with these 3 behind, going 3 wide? Mellon's going to hold onto it round the outside, and it looks like Smits is going to slot in behind them with Fiddick not managing to make any, but Fiddick's still there, and Smits has tried to close the door. It's just about worked, a bit cheeky pushing across the curb there. Smits has held onto that one for the time being, and Fiddick is having to defend from Mebius just behind. Is that going to work for him? I'm not quite sure as Hansko made the move. He's made a lot of contact. Oh, and he's lost his rear wing as Patrick Fogel's gone to the back of it. He's spun around, taking the wing there. Many cars around. It looks like, almost everyone got through. Was there a big contact in the background there? Yes, there was. It as Sven de Vyers has been caught up in that one completely unnecessarily. He's going to fall right the way back, lost his front wing.
Whoa, and a big dangerous bit of driving from Mike Schroeder. He spins back on the circuit. I think he's taken out a lap car. He finally gets the car pointing in the right direction, more looking like a Formula 4 car than a Formula Challenge right now. But that is not a healthy looking car at all. I'd keep it off the track because the last thing you're going to do is harm even more people's races. But back towards the front of that field with the train which has been vastly separated now. You've got Patrick Fogel trying to navigate his way past Mikko Jäkkinen. He was down in 19, he's now into P13, so a great jump there by Mikko, trying to avoid all the carnage. Eric Tavai also from the world of touring cars up to P12, Louis Venikin in P11. Jeremy Allen rounds out the top 10. Gilmore and Fiddick 9th and 8th for Simic. Sven Smits and Pedro Mellon do battle again, so Mellon cannot get rid of these Logix drivers as Mellon now on the inside line. The line he's not favouring at the moment. He wants to swoop it around turn 1, but that is currently being held by Sven Smits. He tries to do all the way, but Mellon still solidly defending on that inside right line, Oscar. You said that Mellon's a formidable defender. He's proven that absolutely right now. He's doing so well, but he may have been a bit wide there. Sven Smits has got a bite back up the inside, and he should be able to hold that one through the corner. I wonder if Mellon's going to try and get the cut back or swoop it round. He may get hung out to dry. Indeed he does, and Smits takes a position. Yeah,
it looks like Pedro Mellon's just not got any front tyres at the moment, and that's what's leaving him vulnerable. He's holding on in the braking zones, but when it comes to the fast and medium speed corners, the front tyres are not there to pull him round. He is just getting done by anyone who manages to get alongside him.
They're going to be really trying to be careful on those tyres. Only 6 laps into the race. The estimated life for these tyres, approximately 10 to 13 laps to be established. Jeremy Allen spun it as he comes over the crest of the hill, slams the car into the wall. Again, we've got another Formula 4 competitor, and Fogel's formidable fury has now come to a darkening end, as you can see just behind Thomas Hazard's a bit way back at the moment. But Allen should be able to recover that to the pit lane, but that's going to damage his race considerably.
It is indeed. Just looked like a mistake, probably carrying a bit too much curb on the inside. The formidable corner there coming down the back straight into sector 2 rather. So unfortunate for Allen. He knows he's got pace, but now he's going to struggle to keep himself in a position where he's even vying for the potential of running at the front next time with a reverse grid. They've got Ryan Gilmore in the pit lane, so this may be first call for tyre strategy. 7 of 17 laps strikes me as a little bit early, maybe a fuel miscalculation or something more along those lines. But Ryan Gilmore in the pits, possibly showing that more than one driver is going to be basically using tyre strategy once again today. I was thinking that in the current temperatures that they might just about manage to go the full distance, but I'm going to struggle apparently. And if Ryan's in, then we saw last time, Manuel Gaxella, he pushes, but that does use up his tyres. So if one person's in, I'm expecting to see Gaxella follow suit reasonably soon, as he himself is coming up on Matt Richards, who is currently lap traffic.
And one man who may be considering a pit stop as well is Pedro Mellin. He's now dropped behind the Simic Motorsports car of Dave Fiddick, as he now sets his sights on Sven Smits, gaining on him already. But I think two guys have had it very easy. Two race leaders, Manuel Gaxella 6 seconds clear. Franz Schneider is in second. He's about 6 seconds back to John Munro as well. And so those three guys trying to pull away from the kind of hungry pack of dogs that are the rest of the field. Westphal's up in fourth, Brad Wright's in fifth. But the two leaders have just got a considerable gap compared to the rest of the field. They can just kind of, relax the tyres a bit now, just take each lap as it comes, and maybe try and go the whole race distance. They could be the ones who try and perfect that strategy.
It could indeed. It's definitely possible. There might be a few people at the moment sandbagging. I mean, it's surprising for... Oh, and Kevin Westphall's in the pit lane. So there's that one. Who else sin? I can see a couple of people falling down the order. I've had a Vedekind. He's coming to the pit lane. Yakonen's in the pit lane. We've got Kevin Westphall leaving now. I think that's it at the moment. Those two drivers were in there. Yep, so it was Westphall first on the pit stop, followed by Yakonen and then Vedekind. So... another few guys opting to take new tyres.
Yeah, and let's quickly touch on our retirements as well, actually. We've only had 3 confirmed retirements. Those are Adrian McNaughton, who has been very consistent all season for Storm Racing. Of course, Emmanuel's teammate is out of the race, I think it was in the lap 1 incident, alongside Brandon Warren and Dimitris Siamanis. So 3 retirements. But apart from that, it's been very plain sailing. The last man currently running is Lee Palmer. He's 2 laps down on our race leader, but still going strong. And that's great to see, isn't it? That these drivers aren't just giving up. They're keeping the car out there, which you never know what might happen in this race.
Indeed, not only that, but these guys presumably, regardless of how far back they start, will be considering race 2, and they want to get as many laps as they can. And especially having made that early stop for repairs, the guys that are now a few laps down can use this as extra running to understand the tyre situation for the following race.
Yeah, exactly. It's all going to be going inside the driver's note, because Sven Smits pulls into the pit lane, and just in front of him as well, Brad Wright stays out, John Munro stays out, Franz Schneider stays out, and Gaxella still not pitting in. So our leaders not deciding that their tyres are ready yet. Could that be because of the clean air and just being able to be like kind of them against the track as opposed to breaking and locking up all the time?
Clean air is definitely going to be a big one. And we've got Fiddick's made a pit stop. Sven Smits has made a pit stop. Now Westphal, is he going to get both of them? Yes, he is. So Kevin Westphal's going to move back through.
Gilmore and Vedekind as well, side by side, almost going down that main straight. I bet people know that is Vedekind, and no, it is Gilmore, isn't it? Who's Vedekind's? It's a lap car. That's why I'm getting confused. Sorry, that is my bad. So I was going to say the gap looks a bit more like 3 seconds as opposed to 3/10. But as the cars, keep circulating around, we're almost approaching the end of these tyres' lifespan approximately, so it's going to be interesting to see out of both Schneider and Gaxella who can hold on more. We've seen it before as well. Gaxella's strategy, he's tried risking it before, and it hasn't quite paid off when he's lost a couple of positions. I wonder if that will be the same scenario here today. Only time will tell as we approach the end of lap number 10.
I'm almost thinking that these guys that have gone for the midway point on the one-stop strategy, getting the new tyres, that's the smartest thing to do, because you're immediately getting cut back with the new tyres, immediately finding pace. And you're only going to be 2 or 3 laps off put, so if you find the pace now and grab a few places by having it through other people making pit stops, as Franz Schneider is in the pit lane, so he was our second place man. This will be the interesting one to see. He had a big lead over that pack behind him. Is he going to exit pit lane with the same big lead? Pedro Mellim's going to come through on him, we know that much. And then who's closest behind that? Kevin Westphal not even out the final corner, so that's worked very nicely for Franz Schneider, still maintaining what you've got to think is a prospective podium for him, and he has got plenty of pace in that car.
He has his Eric to fight for ice cold also, and he's leaving his pit box now. I wonder who's going to be the man to challenge him into the first corner.
And Brad Wright's DNF'd.
And Brad Wright's
one of
out.
our front runners from earlier on, has he's left the game and he has failed to finish race 1.
Now, was this due to an incident, or there's no damage on the car? It could be a connection issue.
It could indeed. I mean, with this many cars on the track, it wouldn't be surprising if maybe he had some sort of crash or freeze, and it can just be the way with R-Factor. It's unfortunate for poor old Brad Wright, who's doing so well early on.
Well, we'll see what he can do during race 2, though. I'm sure he'll be very upset with that one, but that's part and parcel of this kind of race, and we still do have a massive field as the guys just try and navigate their way past Gagzella or into the pit lane. Then let's see what our leader can do during that pit stop. Where can he feed out? Where's John Munro? Will he try and go the whole race distance now? Will he maybe try something a bit risky? It's his debut race. Why not go for it all? He's around 15 seconds behind. He's going to be trying to showcase his defender, and he's going to provisionally pass Gagzella. So on his debut, the Scotsman leads a lap. Let's see what he can do from here. 6 laps to go, Oscar. Now, what would you do in this situation? Do you risk it and try and stay out on those tyres and prolong them and wring every bit of life out of them? Or do you go in and play safe?
With 6 laps to go, you're heading towards about 2/3 race distance. You've made that decision now. You're not going to be getting the best benefits from a stop. The best plan would be to push it to the end and hope for the best.
Well, let's see what he can do then. The current gap between them is Gagzella's actually fell behind Pedro Melin, who I don't believe has stopped yet. So that would explain quite a lot. But Gagzella will be on the fresher tyres, so we'll see what his lap times can suggest. He wasn't actually losing a lot of time as those tyres neared the end of his lifespan. His last lap before the pit stop was a 1:29.617, which was the fastest lap of the race. So the man's still not lacking pace despite those tyres being torn to shreds.
Indeed, and very impressive. Also shows, though, if he managed to get his pace down that low, that he was also running fuel most likely for that distance. Fuel makes a big difference. As like Eichelkamp's had an incident, he's lost his front wing. But I imagine Gagzella ran fuel and tyres because the tyres take time. You can fit fuel in at the same, so it's definitely worth taking the lighter load, and that's what he's done. It's benefited him so far.
So now the pressure's on then. Pedro Melin 5.1 seconds away from John Munro at the moment. Gagzella a further 2 seconds behind. So the two guys who have been the main kind of fighters in this lead battle are now slowly closing on our race leader. We'll see what the official gap is as they come across the start-finish line. It's looking like it's going to be just under, it's 4.7 seconds. And I think Pedro Melin is looking considerably quicker right now, and considerably more comfortable as well.
Indeed, Pedro's last lap was in fact 0.8 quicker than John Munro's last lap, so that's looking like that one's going to close up fairly quickly. And obviously now that Pedro's not got all those people trying to push their way past him, he's got clean air, his tyres aren't being abused anywhere near as much, he is showing the pace that he's had from the start.
He's a nice and clean air, maybe just trying to breathe a sigh of relief because he's got no Logix racing team, he's got no Simmings, no anyone like that trying to charge down his neck, constantly hunting for a move. He's just got a chance to sit back and do what he does best, which is drive those consistent quick laps. And looking at a surprise name maybe inside the top 5, and that's Whoopi Herkstra in Optimum Sim Racing. We haven't really seen him appear too much in the top 10 this race, and now, due to his strategy, he's now safely inside the top 5 it seems.
Indeed. Well, again, strategy calls making big differences today, giving you track position. We saw last time out that track position can be so valuable come the end when you've moved yourself forward 10, even 15 positions from where you started.
He can, so let's see what Whoopka can do from here. We've only got 5 laps remaining here at the Circuit de Catalunya. We've still got one more race after this, which will feature this innovative reverse grid decision, but we'll wait and see who will be the man sitting on pole position for that. Another team that's second strong, as you said before, is Logix, and Pedro Melin has taken the lead, and John Munro is in the pit lane, so he has elected to pit.
I think that call is too late from John Munro. He's going to throw away the podium that he had. That's almost a given. Pedro will be going to the end, so Pedro's on for a podium at the moment. Hoekstra possibly, but Fran Schneider's closing quickly. It looks like it's likely going to be Emmanuel Gagzella who takes the win here. So his strategy working this time out, with Pedro Melin possibly holding on second from a charging Fran Schneider, who I suspect shall make his way past Whoopke Herkstra. But John Munro leaving it far too late there with the pit. He's going to make up maybe a position, maybe 2 now with the fresh tyres, but it's just going to be far too little too late.
And one thing we're going to say, as he said earlier on, that Pedro Melin is a formidable defender. He's proved this through the first stint of the race. He now comes up against probably one of the most formidable drivers in the field in terms of pace, and that is Emmanuel Gagzella, zero point 0.6 seconds currently. Surely Pedro's going to do everything he can to keep him at bay.
Indeed he will. Pedro will drive his defensive lines and do his best, but I just don't think with the tyre difference these two are going to have currently that it's going to be even remotely enough for to cause Gaxella problems, as it were.
Well, we'll see what Gaxella can do at the moment. It took a ride and walk with him then as he enters that chicane. He's looking so confident right now. Tucked under that rear wing of Pedro Mellin. They go through the final corner, going through the gears, trying to get a nice slipstream into turn 1. Let's see what he can do. Mellin trying to favour that outside line. He wants to swoop it round and retain the inside line for turn 2. Now drift to the inside, trying to make it hard for Emmanuel Gaxella then. And he tries to take as much of the inside line as possible. This could be the one to decide the race. Mellin holds the inside line, and he does so very nicely.
Yeah, now he needs to get back over to the inside, and Gaxella's actually holding back. He is looking to try and make a move into turn 4 as he has left that way too late. Got the dirty air of Pedro, and he's going to wash out wide and maybe even have to wait a whole nother lap to have a go.
Very, very smart driving here by Pedro Mellin when he could well be an underdog to take a victory if he keeps pulling moves like that. Very, very smart defending indeed. And Mellin really trying to establish himself as possibly one of the best defensive strategists in the league right now. 0.2 as Gaxella looks to the inside again. Going to try and move through there. Mellin placing his car absolutely spot on.
Indeed he is. These two with a full 8 seconds back to Whoopke Hoekstra and 10 back to Franz Schneider. They can battle away for the following 2.5 laps. It's not going to cost them anything, provided they don't run into each other.
And I'm sure both drivers, whilst hating the situation, will be loving it as well. It's everything a racing driver wants. Close, fair, clean, and respectful racing. Look at Gaxella try and round the outside on the entrance to the chicane. And sure, that's never going to work to come over the crest of the hill. And he can't get the momentum. He's desperately swerving around, trying to find a hole to stick his car through, but he can't quite find the momentum. Mellin is so confident in his car's ability. He's not changing lines trying to catch Gaxella out. He picks a line, he stays there. Then that's not the line Gaxella wants to take, and that is why he's trying to maybe rewrite the overtaking rulebook, because he cannot find a space to overtake him. He looks to the outside of turn 1 now once again. Mellin retaining that inside line, trying to make it as difficult as he can. Mellin does not go deep and gets back to the inside. Will Gaxella try and carry that momentum or be hung out to dry? The answer is the latter.
He's held a tighter line this time. Might have a look going into turn 4. You can leave it late on the brakes there. He's not. He's just going to stick him behind again, and I'm not sure that's going to work. Almost pushing Pedro Mellin around the track at the moment.
And immediately darts to the inside to cover any kind of Gaxella move. Does so very nicely and keeps his car parked there. Just 800ths of a second as they went through the first sector. Now Gaxella would surely be a given no. Medrum slams that door shut with authority and keeps the position for a bit longer, and surely Gaxella must be scratching his head inside the cockpit right now. What must he do to get past Pedro Mellin?
I've been in that position, and the answer is sit there until a mistake happens, which with Pedro is just not often. Oh, but as I say it, commentator's curses washed right the way out right there. Almost leaving the door open for Gaxella, somehow getting the power down and keeping there. Gaxella now resorting to a couple of little cheeky bumps in the middle of corners.
And it's got to be the pressure, hasn't it? You've got the championship leader tucked away behind you, looking to add another victory, another trophy to his collection. Gets a much better run out of the final corner. Mellin still reluctant to give away that possession, defended with every single bit of ounce of energy he's got right now. And they're effectively bump drafting. Gaxella now looks to the outside, carrying so much more speed. Mellin nudging him across the track, but it's not quite enough, and now Mellin has to go on the offensive. He needs to get a move back sooner rather than later if he wants to lead in this race. He cannot let Gaxella get away.
Gaxella's got this one. There's no way that Pedro's going to be able to hold on through this corner. Gaxella's just going to pull away with the grip from his new tyres. Will Pedro have a look into turn 4? No, he won't. He's too far back. I would say that that is deal done. Indeed it is. Pedro washing out wide. Those tyres have absolutely had it. And it got a bit aggressive there at the end, but game, set and match to Gaxella.
There was a spectacular drive from Gaxella to come back after that. Mellin, we almost sort of had it. Monroe could have been a proprietor as well. But again, Whoopke Hoekstra looking very strong for Ultram Sim Racing. I think that's the highest result of the season, P4. Dave Fiddick there currently P5, trying to hold off the two Logix cars who are miles behind now. John Monroe down in P8 after kind of being in second position. He won't be too happy with that at the moment. And the battles have kind of died down. Now we've got a short one, which could come to blows between the Fogel Motorsports driver of Patrick Fogel and Sven de Vries. We've got to take a look at Manuel Gaxella. He's coming round the chicane for the final time to add just another victory to his collection. He's just been racking up the victories here. I think this could very well be his 7th victory out of 9 races. And he comes down the start-finish straight. And he's going to further extend his championship lead. Gagzella, more dominant, just perfection drive there. And showed that he can battle hard and still take the victory. Great win for Emmanuel Melin. Takes a very, very well-deserved 2nd position. 3rd place is Fran Schneider in front of Whoopi Herkscher, who weaves an elation there in P4 for Optimum Sim Racing. Dave Fiddick in P5, good result, consistency again there for simming. The 2 Logix cars, exactly what Team Boss ordered. It's P6, P7 for those guys. John Munro in his debut gets a top 10. 9th place, Eric Tveit provisionally. 10th will be Sven de Bries, and Patrick Fogel will sit just outside in P11. So the race comes to an end. We just wait for the drivers to cross the line. Gilmore P12 in front of Louis Wedekind. Miko Yakinen P14 in front of Paul Joseph for Royal Blue. Jeremy Allen. So Fogel Motorsports almost outside the top 10 there. They're not looking as strong as they were last weekend. Thomas Hazard P17. 8th is Jonathan Ockerklint. Good result there. Optimum pushing their way through the field nicely today. Chris Williamson was 19th in front of Menno Klon and Hansco Mebius, who was fighting for a top 10 at one point. John McLean was P22 in front of Matt Richards, Mike Schroten and Matt Cliff, who are still dueling away there. You can see as they try and get their way around the track. Matt Webb for Epic Racing in front of Mike Bell for 27th. Damien Eichelkamp came 28th for C2 Grand Prix in front of William Neron for 29th. Britzman John Hicken crosses the line to take 30th position and round out our top 30. Tom Jacobs was 31st in front of Chris Parr 32nd. Viking Racing driver Lee Palmer rounded out your top 33 in front of Dave Van Gils in 34. And then he did not finish. Our retirements for the day then. Dave Van Gils, Brad Wright, Wayne Reed, Simon Smith after looking strong early on, Demetrius Samaranis, Brandon Warren and Adrian McNaughton. So a very, very interesting race there, Oscar, but a familiar face who took the victory.
Indeed, and it's almost to be expected at this point in the season. If you see Gaxella near the front at any point, you're going to think he's going to be winning it.
And you've got to wonder, though, what is going to be his starting position during the next race. Of course, we've got this new kind of reverse grid sort of rule, and it worked very well last race, almost like a lucky dog kind of rule, and I wonder what number's going to be chosen this time.
Well, I shall be back with you on that one in but a moment after I've gone through the random number generator between, remember, cars 15 and 20, so 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th or 20th could potentially be getting pole for the following race. If you give me a few minutes, I'll leave you in the capable hands of Liam Jenkins as I go and sort that one out, and I'm sure that everything will go just fine.
Okay, so Oscar's going to run around frantically and try and find out just who's going to be our pole sitter for the second race here at the Circuit de Catalunya. And again, the Formula Challenge Series just keeps on impressing. The racing gets closer and tighter. The clouds are in the sky. But as we said before, that may not necessarily mean there's going to be rainfall. So we're going to quickly take a look and see if there are any drivers who are willing to pop down for a little interview and maybe give their thoughts on how their first race was. We'll just wait and see if there are any drivers just waiting for an interview.
As I can confirm that the number for the reversed grid is going to be 16, and I believe, I can't remember actually, so that's not any help whatsoever, but the 16th position driver from race 1 is going to be starting on pole position for race 2.
So there you can see that's going to be the man who'll be thrilled with that as well. So that's a really nice format. It really does add a bit of tension and makes it, you're not just trying to get a top 20 to get in that reverse grid and be safe. You won't just settle for 20th and think, oh, actually, you know, I'm not going to push anymore and I'll just try and settle for pole position next time round. Now you've got to really fight for it and fight for every position because you don't know what number's going to be called out.
No, indeed you don't, and the thing is that's what adds to it now. There's no you poodle around in 15th and get pole. It's not a promise that you'll get pole if you do that. It's a possibility, so it means that people, they're racing not only for the 15th, but then they're racing much harder all the way back to 20th because there's value to positions that don't have points now. So, very, very interesting one to see. And that's put Jeremy Allen on pole, and Jeremy Allen's not a slow driver, so he could well see Jeremy Allen taking his maiden victory if he can keep it all together this time.
We could indeed, and I wonder just who's going to be the man to dictate this pole position. Jeremy Allen, as we've said, Fogel have looked quite quick in the past, haven't they? I mean, they've taken a victory. They look strong. They're consistent, much like a kind of Logic's outfit or a Simming. I just wonder what they can do from pole position. They've been in this situation before, right at the front of the field and push their way through. What can they do here at Catalonia?
It'll be interesting to see, and obviously they've put themselves in strong position, basically, where they would have liked to qualify first time round. And I think they've got the pace, and I think that with the difficulty that comes in overtaking here, that you're just going to probably see the guys at the front pull away, particularly seeing as they are drivers with plenty of pace that just got unlucky in race 1.
Exactly, and I'm sure, you know, especially after that opening crash, if you will, when we're still trying to determine the cause of that one, but we're hoping not to see another one. That's the first time we've seen something like that happen after the launch control's been introduced. So I just wonder who's going to be kind of trying to push away to the front. Do you think drivers who were involved in that, such as, you know, Matt Clip, I think, who was had a slight tag, Brandon Warren got taken out, I know for sure. Do you think they'll be taking a bit more cautious and is trying to maybe hold off a bit into the first corner?
Maybe, but obviously the crash was all the way back on the starting line there, and that's where most of the drama was. I think it may just have been one or two drivers not using that mandatory launch control, and really, like I said, the launch control is so competitive that you only get accidents when one or two people fail to use it correctly, and it looks like that's what happened, I imagine, and there'll be penalties dished out for it. It's unfortunate, and we've seen the results of what does happen when it happens.
Indeed, and you can see that's a big spin there as well. That's going into Thomas Hutton, actually, and he kind of returns the car to the pit lane as he comes in towards the final few corners of the circuit, and maybe just cold tyres, cold travelling to the current track temperature is 28 degrees and an ambient temperature of 23, so a little bit hotter than the drivers would preferably like, but nonetheless still a very nice temperature to be driving at.
Indeed it is, and an interesting thing going back to temperature is obviously strategy, which we saw a number of different forms of strategy last time out, and the no-stop working very well for Pedro Melim, very well for Wutke Hoekstra, new personal best result for him in Formula Challenge, the same goes for Melim, I believe. Fantastic stuff. They knew how to conserve the tyres and they did a good job of it. People like Gaxella, they didn't. The difference being if the track heats up this time, those guys that were as competitive as they were not stopping last time are going to be struggling a lot more this time than those that are choosing to stop.
That's very true, and I guess the thing is as well with this kind of session is that you need to be careful, because now it's not necessarily on pace. With this reverse grid, the drivers who as you say, like Gaxella, or maybe even like Pedro Melim, who works those tyres very well, doesn't need to stop, and has got that car sussed. He may have to do a lot more work to push his way back through the field now. There could be a few more lockups, a lot more defensive driving, even try and bring out the assault booklet as he tries to push his way through the field. And if that is the case, then tyre wear could be a lot more degrading than he once thought.
Indeed, but in all fairness to Pedro Melim, he was battling away for the vast majority of that first race. So I think, you know, even with the battling now, he knows how to preserve the tyres immaculately. Because he was left, right and centre most laps that we were watching him, and he still had enough tyres left at the end to hold the championship leader behind him.
They'll be looking perhaps like an underdog or a dark horse to get himself inside that top 10. So another 17 laps of racing, a new pole sitter, a new top 16 for that fact. Then guys, 17 to 20 will start in their respective positions, and everyone further down as well. So a nice new format as we said before. And coming out of a race session into a warm-up session, are you going to try anything different on strategy, do they think? Will they just try and maybe run a different strategy overall? You know, change it completely and run maybe a little bit less fuel and plan to stop? Or maybe take a leaf out of Pedro's book and see that maybe just not stopping at all could be the way forward?
Well, it's unfortunate, but I genuinely think that the strategy that people are comfortable with now, the ones that they've practiced, the ones that they used in race 1, they're likely to be the strategies that you see in use again here in race 2.
Well, only time will tell and see if anyone decides to shake it up. And one of the drivers who may be regretting his strategy choice is, of course, John Munro. He started this race in P2, managed to hold that podium position for quite some time, made the wrong call on lap 13 to stop for tyres just 5 laps before the end of the race, and unfortunately he finished down in P8, I believe. So maybe he could be a man who wants to change his strategy, or maybe think twice next time. It's his debut race, and even so, a top 10 is a very respectable result.
Indeed it is, and can't take away from him. Maybe there was a bit of a strategy error there, but the race itself that he performed was a very, very good one. It deserved a top 10, and in all fairness, minus the strategy boo-boo that he made, definitely a fantastic drive. He could have been right up there on the podium, I reckon.
So wait and see what he can do during race 2. Will start right in the midfield, of course, because he qualified 8th. Roughly, well, if you consider that as a qualifying position during race 1, then he's going to start smack bang in the middle of that pack again. So outside of that top 16 will start in 8th position, and again it can be either a blessing or a curse when you start that far in the field. You're just hoping the cars around you can get themselves through cleanly. Hopefully we don't see another incident like we did in the first race. So 3 minutes of the session left to go. The drivers just trying to get in the chat, calm themselves down. Mixed emotions around the paddock. Some drivers will be elated with the results they've achieved, and spoken to John as well, and he said he's never done the single seater and he will not be pitting this time. So he is elected to change his strategy, and he will try and maybe make this work.
Indeed, and oh dear, and now I'm getting that in the ear as well. But John obviously opting a different strategy. Personally, I think I would have done it the other way around. Starting further forward last time, not stopping keeps you in clean air for longer. This time you've got to think maybe you won't be in clean air by the time you come around to stops. You'd want to be making the tyre change. I'll be interested to see how it works. It did work for people last time out when they no stopped, again starting from the midfield in race 2 at Hungary. So I'm sure it can work for him, but he's going to have to really manage those tyres and accept that they're going to get hot and just moderate his pace. You're literally racing to a lap time with how tight it is.
Indeed, and it's the drivers trying to get into their final positions. And just a quick update as well as to why Jonathan Ockerklin surprisingly performed very well. He jumped in for race 1 while he was available, as Scott Sovic, the other Optimum driver, had an R-factor problem. It has been solved now, and Scott is now left in the car for race number 2. So I wonder if the Optimum bosses may have been paying attention to Jonathan's race, because he did run very strong.
Very true. Very good drive. I mean, the Optimum guys had a good drive out. And in fact, there were lots of teams there. And you got to think as well. John Monroe, who I'm not sure it's saying that he's on the GPVWC Formula Challenge team. I'm sure if I go and look, I can find what team he's on. But fantastic drive there. And you also had Whoopke Hotstra for Optimum as well. So like you were saying, just the Optimum guys, a couple of PB results basically. Fantastic first race for them. And they're going to be in a fantastic position for race 2.
Absolutely, and Optimum just ever improving since that first race. I'll be really hoping to push their way to the front of the field and make themselves potential podium contenders.
Yeah, I'm not sure maybe if they're podium contenders just yet. We saw at the end there that Whoopke Hotstra was really down on pace and couldn't quite hold on to it, but give them a few races. If they can carry on with this form, maybe find a couple of extra tenths a lap, and you could see Optimum fighting up there no time at all.
Indeed, so just 1 minute and 10 seconds left until the end of the session, and I wonder just what are the kind of things going to be now. And we can just got an update from Jonathan Ockerklint as well, and he said that that Jonathan is Jonathan is a reserve for the team, and Scott is a full driver, so he should drive and is faster overall. So Jonathan quite comfortable in his position and happy with his position in the team. So no updates there, and we'll see what Scott can bring to Optimum during the second race.
Indeed, we shall. A bit of server chat going on now, maybe something worth looking forward to, if that is the correct word. Next time out will be Monaco.
And Monaco has been such a scene in the past to see, such desperation and, elation at the same time. So many emotions at track. It's kind of like Marmite, isn't it? You either love it or you hate it. And some drivers really do hate it. They cannot get a feel for the circuit. It's a very physically demanding circuit, and the slightest error, whilst on a track like Catalonia, you've got these big runoff areas of grass and curb to get you out of the wall. Monaco, there's no second chances. You either make a mistake and you're in the wall, or you drive flat out and potentially take a good result.
Indeed, that is the case. Also, a few more special rules coming out for Monaco because of the size of the track, but we will cover them when we get to the round itself. Looks like warm-up is just coming to a close, so it's time for these guys to get their racing helmets back on and get ready for what should no doubt be an exciting race number 2.
Just waiting for the infamous R-factor words to be spoken. I think left that delay a little bit long now, thinking it would be earlier than it was, but the driver was just returning to the pit lane. Is he Daniel Beck? Parking his car there, maybe practicing getting into his grid spot. And now we wait, kind of that long wait for the session to tick over, make sure everything's fine with all the cars and the drivers that are happy to move into the next session, make sure they're all in the correct grid positions. So massive thank you as well to our race admin for doing an incredible job of keeping all this massive grid in check and making sure everything's great before we move in to the next session. Such a hard job to do, but always done right, and it's always imperative as well. So great job by our race admins, and we'll hopefully see another fantastic race during the second one. A lot can be learned from the first one. Question is, who's going to learn from their mistakes and try and improve their race during the second?
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
So there were the words then. We've got 24 seconds for our cars to get themselves on the grid, and a reminder of our pole sitter Jeremy Allen then for Fogel Motorsports. So despite the fact he wasn't in the points this time, he's now got a 12 big points. He's now got a chance to fight for a victory. Paul Joseph is behind him in Royal Blue, Mikko Jakkonen in third, Louis Vecken in P4. Ryan Gilmore starts in 5th position in front of Jeremy's teammate Patrick Fogel. Sven de Vries is in P7 in front of Eric Tavai in 8th. John Monroe still starts 9th, and not a bad result at all there. Sven Smith's 10th, Westphal in 11th, David Fiddick 12th, Rubber Hoekstra in 13th position, 14th is Pedro Mellin, and our race winner last time round, Emmanuel Gagzella, starting 15th position. The skies look very dark as the cars leave the grid spots to start the formation lap. The track temperature's come down a little bit, 26 degrees now, but still very hot indeed, so we'll be loving the conditions, and hopefully we see another dry race.
Indeed, and I'm expecting that we will see a dry race. It is very unlikely that any rain will come down at this stage, so it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. It'll be interesting to see what happens having someone as quick as Jeremy Allen start from the front with no one really likely to challenge him nearby, minus maybe his teammate Patrick Fogel back in 6th and Ryan Gilmore in 5th.
I'm going to wonder what's going to be going through the mindset if we say Fogel have been at the front of the field before. They know what it's like to compete at that top level, to keep their car in the lead, to defend like you've never defended before, but they've got some fierce competition to contend with. Guys like Mikko Jakkonen perhaps, Louis Vadkind as well, but you've got to wonder, guys like Gagzella, Mellin, John Monroe maybe starts in P9, could well be a dark horse. You know what kind of pace he's got, qualified firmly inside the top 10, got himself into second due to the grid penalties last time round, held his position there, and then a bad strategy call enabled him to drop down to P8. He now starts in 9th position. What can he do from here? Can he maybe push his way past some of the slower cars? He's behind his kind of Touring Pro Series teammate, if you will, the guys who've raced together for so long in so many different leads. Eric Tavai, they now branch over to open wheels and see what they can achieve there.
Indeed, it'll be interesting if John Monroe can get forwards quickly, if he can gain himself 4 or 5 positions in the first lap or two by driving aggressively and then starts managing the tyres, he could well be on for a podium here.
He could be, and it would be great to see him do that on his debut as well, and especially for him personally, to feel that sense of, right, I have done it, you know, I've made a mistake, I've learned from it, I've corrected it, I've done the best I could possibly do, I really outperformed my expectations. As the cars sit on the grid and we await those red lights, Jeremy Allen lines his Fogel Motorsports up in P1 in front of the Royal Blue, with Paul Joseph in second, the rest of the field making their way to their grid spots as we get ready for another 17 laps of racing here at Catalonia. There's a car missing there actually next to Pedro Mellin.
It's Franz Schneider for Racing Team Schroten, our final podium man last time out, our 3rd position driver. I believe actually left the game, looks like a crash to desktop just before the start of the race. Chronically bad luck there for himself and Racing Team Schroten.
It is indeed. You can see some of the cars parked at angles, some of them not, as we get ready for the lights to go out. We're away once again here at Catalonia for the second of 2 races. And we're swarmed down into the opening corner. Joseph going to get dwarfed there, and already the field trying to scramble for position. A bit of contact just behind, but much cleaner as opposed to last time. And already still it's Jeremy Allen who leads. Jakkonen up to second. Vatican third, Fogel's up to 4th, a great start there for Jeremy Allen's
One big crash further back.
Goes up to 6th, Gilmore
Big
7th.
crash. That's
And
right into the 3 of those cars flying off everywhere.
He's gone off. A lot of the other cars trying to navigate their way around it and not pick up damage. Very hard to do. And he's got to be careful. He joins back on track. Oh, he falls in front of John Hicken. And he's lost his rear wheel. Simon Smith's involved as well for the Backmarket Brigade team. And a big incident there. The rest of the field, though, seemingly unscathed. but already a very, very tense opening few moments.
Yeah, but it looks like we've got Melin with damage. And we've also, who else? Dave Fiddick, another big name with damage. Joseph, it looks like Gagzella's got damage as well. So all of our front runners from last time, pretty much, in the wars, massive damage on their cars. Munro and Gilmore both moving forward from their starting positions, doing a good job. Already a gap being called at the front by Jeremy Allen away from Mikko Ykkönen, who too has made a fantastic start there for Tanskanen Racing.
Yeah, and Gagzella as well got himself up to P8 after starting P16 to climb halfway through the field, and that car is very nervous, but he sensibly dives in towards pit lane. Who follows in there? That's the question. Paul Joseph's in. Here was Bell, Schroeton, McLean, Elsdale, Van Gils, Mellins in, Brad Wright's in, another poor race there for Brad Wright. Unfortunately, Lucky's is not on his side today. Scott Cervic stays out for Optimum. Whoopi Herkstra's in as well. Eric Tvite's in, Lee Palmer's in. A lot of big names, Matt Richards also. Simon Smith will presumably be as he takes his Formula Ford Matt Marker Brigade to the pit lane, skipping over the curves. A bit of hopscotch, but finally gets the car in. A lot of big names there.
Oh, Fiddick's still out on track with no front wing. He's only going to lose himself time doing that.
Yeah, he's not doing himself any favours. He's already down to P13 as that scramble of cars up in front of Van Gils and Bell go side by side. McLean tries to watch on eagerly.
Oh, an idle transfer.
Van Gils up the inside of Mike Bell, who defends gallantly. Almost a bit of contact there between the Edenis and the Ice Cold Racing team. They both keep it moderately clean and hold on for a bit more, but Van Gils looking very racy now. Pulls to the outside line, has a little look, ducks and dives, looks for his track position, but Mike Bell reluctant to give him any space at all, and Van Gils has to settle for a corner more. But still, Jeremy Allen leads as they come round to the end of lap 2. Mikko Ykkönen up to second, a great result there. De Vries up to P3, Fogel up to 4th. Again, Fogel looking strong here today. Monroe still in P5, Gilmore up to P6. So Monroe and Gilmore made very good starts there.
Indeed they did. Look, big train behind Bell, and Van Gils, is he going to get the move done? Actually gets on the curb, and you don't want to do that in the final corner, lose you tons of momentum. That's left the door open for John McLean, who looks maybe to be running a bit more downforce. Couldn't make anything there on Van Gils, just hit a wall of air. Looks like they're staying single file behind that, and they're going to get single file before turn 1 in this case as well. No change of position in what is quickly becoming a bit of a Matt Bell train as Van Gils has started back and gone round. So Van Gils putting himself completely out of position, throwing away what could have been a fantastic top 10 points paying result. Just tapping the back, losing control. He is going to fall right the way back. The car's still close together at this early stage in the race.
Oh, they're more than that. They're practically banging mills. It's almost like touring car racing for some of these guys. You can see there, that is Fernandez and Nebius going side by side. Alejandro trying to go round the outside, almost touch the grass a little bit there. Kept the car pointing in the right direction. But a massively shaken up order. Our race winner from last race, Manuel Gagzella, and championship leader down in P27. Matt Webb 28th, Melin 29th, Joseph 30th, and Whoopi Herkstra 31st.
And at the front, big battle for the lead. Sven de Vries looking left, right and centre on Jeremy Allen. He has got past Ykkönen, as has Fogel, so big battle now going on.
I wonder what Allen can do then as they'll come down the main straight. They're all very close together, and Fogel trying to provide some support for his teammate. He's practically defensive in this situation though. As De Vries looks to the inside, he fancies his chances. He would love a victory here. He's in the lead as he comes down to the first corner. Will he be in the lead as they come out of it? There's only one way to find out. Instead of Fogel Motorsports car positions himself ready to defend. He goes round the outside. Fogel can't capitalise, but De Vries can take the lead of the race, and the Fogel car's had a bit of contact I think there. Fogel almost off the track, now Allen off the track, and Fogel passes his teammate. Yeah,
the Fogel guys getting in each other's way just a little bit there, and it looks like Patrick wanting to get his foot down to see if he can catch back up to Sven de Vries in that WCS racing car.
I just wonder what kind of mindset those guys have got to be in right now. Two teammates battling early on that 3 of 17 here in Catalonia. Is going to be so careful for how they approach this one. Mikko Ykkönen trying to stick with them. John Munro maybe kind of helping these two guys out now, because while they're all battling away, he's going to get some great chances to pull the 10 seconds out of them, and a big lockup by, I think that was possibly a lap car though.
It's Fiddick, I believe.
There was one of the Simming cars indeed, and just behind as well those.
No, it wasn't. It was Simon Smith.
Cars. It's a little bit edgy of seat sort of thing.
So Simon Smith, it looks like he's going to be the first car that these guys come up to lap. He's struggling a bit with his brakes by the looks of it, locking up quite frequently.
Look how close the Fogel Motorsports cars are. It kind of reminds me personally of just Bahrain a couple of days ago, the two McLarens. Let's see what Jeremy Allen did. Hopefully does not do a Sergio Perez. Now looks to the outside to pass his teammate. Fogel may see this coming, be a little bit cautious on the brakes and maybe let his teammate go round. Let's see what the option is. And no, he doesn't. He holds that line. Despite being teammates, they're still leaving it all out on the tarmac right now.
Indeed, they are very good driving between the two of them, to be perfectly honest, but only going to be losing them times to Sven de Vries as he walks away with this one in that WCS racing car as he makes his way around Simon Smith, the back marker, in the back marker brigade car.
And Mike battle for P11 as well as McNaughton tries to battle with William Neron, and that's actually for the final top 10 spot. Mike Bell holding these guys up. Neron looks to the inside, has to cut back in, thinking he's not going to make it. Bell slowly drifts to the inside to cover any kind of move. McNaughton's going to get the cut back. Thank you very much. Sign seal delivered. And McNaughton moves up to P11. Maybe P10. Is it two cars, two corners? He's round the outside. Can he get enough traction? The answer to that is yes, he can. Top 10 for McNaughton.
Yeah, fantastic bit of driving there. And in all fairness, plenty of room given from Mike Bell as well as McNaughton gets a bit slippery through the exit there.
So we're already kind of getting the laps out of the way. We've done so many laps here already as we just get ready for the drivers. So maybe start thinking about some stops. So earliest we saw was lap 6 last time round. We've currently surpassed 4 laps at the Catalunya circuit. Monroe is catching Yakinen just up in front of him. So there could be a battle there in a couple of moments. Gilmore not too far away either. McLean surely behind him. Schroten performing strongly, as is Jacobs. And then we've got McNaughton rounding out your top 10. Bell still battling with William Neron though as they go through that chicane. What can Neron do?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And just another thing to mention at the front, Fogel taking 0.3 of a second out of Sven de Vries that time by. So Patrick Fogel, a man on a mission at the moment.
He is indeed. He's really looking strong, isn't he, to try and put some distance between himself and his teammate. And by doing that as well, it's kind of not only eliminated the risk of those who hitting each other, but got him within a second of our current race leader, who is Sven de Vries. Taking a look through the field, see if there's any more battles. Gagzella up to P24 after the incident earlier on. He's now trying to pass Alejandro Fernandez at P23. Getting a bit on the outside there. Fernandez holding the inside. And Gagzella forced a long and hard way round. He can't quite get it through at the moment. But it's going to be disappointing for him, isn't it? I mean, the least he can do now is try and not stop at all and fight for some points.
Indeed, and that's what you've got to do in these situations, is as soon as you're compromised, you've just got to hold on for dear life and hope that someone in front of you makes a mistake.
He's trying to do that at the moment. He has now successfully passed Alejandro and moves up into P23. Slight battle up in front of him as well. Matt Cliff, unusually a bit far down for his standards. He's fighting with Matt, that's Menno Klont for P22. Got a position swap up front as well. Scott Cervic and Vedekin, who are battling side by side there. Vedekin just about holds on, and Cervic has to settle again there for P17. Brandon Warren trying to hold up Dave Beck as well. Daniel Beck, I beg your pardon. There's a big train there actually. And the Warren wagon, as a lot of the cars catching onto the back of it. Beck, Parr, Klont and Matt Clip, all of them jostling away frantically for position.
Indeed, a bit of contact at the back there between Clip and Klont. That's a fun duo to say.
I've just got an update on what happened to Matt Richards as well. He's now out of the race. His wheel went completely wild whilst he was trying to hold the car, and he had to retire. So a wheel problem for Matt Richards, sees him leave the race prematurely. Now he's got Menno Klont trying to hold on for dear life against the royal blue of Matt Clip. Could not be done, and Matt Clip moves up into the top 20.
Yeah, good job there from Matt Clip, looking further forward. Only half a second now between our two front runners. Now it's gone down to 0.4 of a second as they head through the second sector.
William Neron still locked in battle with Mike Bell for P10. Mike Bell's doing a good job at defending so far. Neron can just not find a way through for Viking Racing. He's all over that rear end. Again, very much like the Pedro Melin story. You can be as close as you want around this circuit, but you cannot quite get that momentum together unless there's a mistake. That may have been the cue for a move, and it was indeed. Mike Bell made a mistake. The commentators curse. Bell on the inside though, provided he doesn't go wide, will again hold on to that position.
And Vries defending from Fogel. These two are going to go too wide into turn 1. Who's it going to be? Can Fogel do anything around the outside? I don't think he can. Sven holding that line really very nicely. Patrick Fogel does look to be a bit quicker at the moment. Struggling to get any leeway and actually push past Sven de Vries.
Yeah, Sven really wants his victory. He's done a good job of holding it so far. The two leaders have got 2 seconds to the next car, which funnily enough is another Fogel Motorsports of Jeremy Allen. So we're looking to try and keep him at bay. We're on lap 8 now of 17 here at Catalonia. You've got Mikko Jäkkinen 5 seconds back. Monroe, who's about a second and a half behind him. John McLean up into P6. Tom Jacobs 7th. Mike Schroten in 8th, who's trying to get his way past some traffic. Mike Bell still in P10 after holding up hazard. Now that is interesting. William Neron's down to P10.
Yeah, must have been a mistake there because he was actually yeah, in fact, there's just been a change of position and it's Hansco is moving past William Neron there.
I wonder what's happened to Neron. He's trying to recatch maybe it's now, and Thomas Hazard up into P11. So some tense times we maybe could see the first couple of pit stops. Mellin down in P22. Gagzella has made considerable progress. It's up to P19 now, so really charging hard.
Indeed, and both the leaders into the pit lane.
There we go, then we said it was pit stop window, and now seems to be pit stop pressure as the 2 leaders pull into the pit lane. It's a race off pit road. The question is, who's going to come out in the lead?
Indeed, I would put my money on it being Sven de Vries, and indeed Fogel just a little more hesitant, getting slowed down into his pit box. I can see a car on fire in there, which is quite entertaining.
Indeed, so
Sven de Vries on his way. Yeah, he's actually made time there in the pit stops.
yeah, that's indeed great run there by Van der Vries, but that may actually come down on him. Patrick Fogel's behind. Now the critical thing is Van der Vries wants a car in between him. He gets it as well. Crucial. He gets a bit of leeway because just behind Patrick Fogel now. Oh, he's in the back marker. And Fogel, just we said traffic could be crucial. It's potentially ruined his chances of a top 10, let alone a win. He's lost the front wing. The question is, who did he make contact with?
It was Chris Williamson who was battling with Simon Smith a lap down.
So carnage and despair for Patrick Fogel. He can't believe his eyes. And he's just going to try and nurse that car home. He's down in P10. And it could not have worked out worse for him.
That is literally as badly as it could have gone. I didn't see what went on there. I don't know if it was anyone specific at fault, but oh dear me, no luck today for the Fogel Motorsport squad.
And the last hope, of course, is Jeremy Allen, who's still going strong.
Leading the race.
Let's see what he can do from here then. He's leading the race. And he's still not pitted in yet, so he could maybe see a risky strategy. Monroe back up to that familiar second position. Also out on the circuit, John McLean pits in from 3rd though.
Indeed, so another driver in.
P4, P5, don't pit in either. And now the question is, are we going to see any risky strategies? We already know for sure Monroe is not stopping. Now he's currently got 17 seconds between himself and Schroten. He's battling hard with McNaughton into turn 1. He's lost the position, so now it was 17 seconds between himself and Schroten. Is now that distance between himself and Adrian McNaughton for the Storm Racing team, the sole Storm Racing team inside the points at present. So we know Monroe isn't stopping. Is anyone else going to follow in his footsteps?
Possibly. It would be interesting to see what Jeremy Allen is doing. He's going very quickly at the moment, pushing away from John Monroe, expecting to see a stop from him. But it's completely possible that a couple of these guys behind, McNaughton and Schroten, could be trying for the no-stop.
It could be. You never know with these drivers, and the question is about the tyre wear. You've got Mike Bell still battling there once again. I think that's actually with lap traffic this time. Neron's up to 8 due to all the carnage and pit stops going on around him. So he's just actually got a prime opportunity now to catch Mike Bell as he encounters some traffic going towards the end of the lap. Simon Smith there gladly getting out of the way for them and trying to keep clear. We already know what happens when back markers can get in the way of race leaders. Therefore, we don't see too much more of that this afternoon. And look how close Neron is. He tries for a risky move and locks that brake. And that is not going to do his tyres any good at all. But that's the kind of thing it's going to take surely in this situation, because Mike Bell is not budging off that racing line.
Indeed he isn't.
So he's going to take something, thinking maybe outside the box. I wonder what he's got left in that tank.
Well, he's keeping there. The pace, I think the problem is that their pace is the same, and there aren't any obvious overtaking opportunities on this track. Minus getting the draft into turn 1, which William Neron has managed now. Will Bell start to cover just yet? No, I don't think Neron's going to be close enough.
No, he's trying, and Bell's going to bit over the curb there, and that may leave him a little bit of time. Indeed, it has. And Neron's got a little bit closer, but gone out way too wide. And he's going to be hung out to dry and lose all that momentum. So our current leader, still Jeremy Allen, 8 seconds clear of Munro. Then they're approximately 12 seconds away from McNaughton. So McNaughton's actually gaining on them. His last time round was a 1:31.0. Monroe's was a 1:31.7. So a massive difference already.
Oh, the spin in the background. Who was that I saw? It was Eichelkamp again for Sisu Grand Prix. Right in front of McNaughton. And De Vries has passed Schroten as well, so De Vries on his charge back through, and we've also got a DNF further back, and that's Brad Wright once again, looking as though he's crashed out of the game.
Oh, William Neron's off! He's down in P12, and he's rejoining the circuit. I wonder if that's a collision with Mike Bell. I'm going to watch the replay now, and no, it wasn't. It was entirely his own error as they come up the hill, and it's all those important anti-cut strips. He's gone a bit too wide as they climb the hill, trying to carry too much throttle. Gone onto the gravel, the front tyre and the rear wing bounces over the anti-cuts. He catches some air, loses the back end and slams it into the wall, losing the rear wing. A very easy thing to do around this circuit. He carries on, but he's now all the way down in P16.
Oh dear, and sliding around everywhere without that rear wing. Another dose of bad luck there.
We want to go about at the moment for P7. This is John McLean and Menno Klon. Klon looking to the inside into turn 1. The most popular overtaking point of the afternoon. Can he make it stick through here? No, great driving there by John McLean around the outside line. Just flawless. He had his complete confidence in the car. He knew that was going to work. And look what it's done for him.
Indeed, we've had McNaughton into the pit lane. He has come out in 10th position in front of none other than Emmanuel Gaxella.
And I wonder where can Gaxella get from here. He's behind his teammate McNaughton at the moment. Oh, and McNaughton's had a big slide through there and keeps his car going in a straight line, but very, very wiggly. And actually makes it a bit easier for Gaxella. That may be a little bit actually helping them and put more and prove into more than a hindrance, because now McNaughton's safely behind. He's not going to get in the way of his teammate. Gaxella can push. He's inside the top 10. But can he take those tyres to the end of the race?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, it was around this lap last time. Well, it was actually before this lap last time that Gaxella made his pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see what his strategy is. He's obviously got plenty of pace at the moment. So yeah, possible that he even pitted already. I'm not sure.
Let's just take a look at his current lap time. He hasn't been in the pits except for the opening lap. Last time was a 1:31.3. Our race leader was a 1:32.7. And the man in second place, John Munro, a 1:32.5. So you can see already just how much Gaxella's pushing. The one man who was quick was the Fogel Motorsports car, and I can't quite see where he's gone now, actually, just outside the top 10. And that may be due to a pit stop. Patrick Fogel, a 1:30.2 last time round, but I believe he's been in the pit lane.
I remember he had that accident with Chris Williamson upon exiting pit lane, so he had to get a new front wing.
Of course, that is what, yeah, that's me being. See, there's the other Fogel Motorsports of Jeremy Allen, who we're comparing to, and a 1:32.7 for him. But De Vries, though, still P3 looking strong after his little moment earlier on. Thomas Hazard also doing the same. Mike Bell still defending from the same couple of drivers, so he's got a bit of a train behind him now. McLean locks the brakes. Oh, they've gone down and off they go! And they somehow, I'm not even sure what happened there, stopping for the voice, but I think Mike Bell may have just saved Mikko Jäkkinen's race entirely there.
Yeah,
he went round in front of his car, Mike kind of nudged him back in the right direction, and they both kept each other out the wall.
It's sort of like a gentlemanly spin there.
So, you know, you can crash each other out, but all's fair in love and war, as they say, and Mike Bell...
Oh, and you're going straight back down the inside, he's not paying the favour. Mike Bell straight round on his rear end. Jeez.
Well, I don't think Mikko Jäkkinen was entirely happy about Mike Bell potentially saving his race there, as Mike Bell now comes under pressure from the two Storm Racing cars around the outside. That's risky from McNaughton, who's got back past his teammate Emmanuel Gaxella. Careful through that chicane. The last thing you're going to do is come out wide through there. Nasty anti-cut strips. And Bell's gone wide. And I wonder, McNaughton's surely going to sneak underneath. His teammate may just do the same. McNaughton dives out already. Gaxella does as well. And it could get a bit messy. The two teammates need to be a bit careful here.
Mike Bell seems to have fantastic straight line speed.
Ice Cold really is looking ice cold out there. Oh, and Gagzella narrowly missing his teammate's rear wing as McNaughton took a very defensive line, and Bell hugging that apex as long as he can. McNaughton carries more speed, going a bit wider and swooping back across. But can he make something of it though? That is the question. The answer is no. Mike Bell again defending that inside line. He's really impressed me here today, Mike Bell. He's not budging off that line at all, and just as I say that, McNaughton's gone round the outside. Bell's still on the inside. Gagzella's got to be careful, and Bell's just not budging at all.
No, and it looks like McNaughton's going to have a look here, but he's not going to be able to. Fantastic driving there from Mike Bell, with defensive driving really of the same stature that Pedro Mellon was performing in race 1.
Yeah, defensive driving has been crucial.
Oh, and
McNaughton goes a bit wide. And tiny incidents like that can be ones which end races.
And Monroe's into pit lane. Monroe's got a puncture.
So that could be absolutely tragic for his race. Is he getting back to the pit lane though? Or is this really going to be kind of race over for him?
I think it's just back to the pit lane for a new set of tyres. Indeed it is. Up onto the jacks, but unfortunate there for Monroe. He's going to move behind Hazard. He's going to move behind McLean and Clont. He's going to move behind Yukonen and Jacobs as well. And I think he's going to be lucky to get out in front of Mike Bell and that train.
Oh, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Where are Mike Bell and that train?
Actually.
There they are. Oh, and this is going to be tense as well. They're speeding down in towards that first corner. Monroe on the inside line, and oh, he just separates the battle for now. And now a new catalyst has been added into this battle for 8th position. There's now Bell, Monroe, McNaughton and Gagzella, the 2-stall racings, round out your top 10. But McNaughton must be infuriated. He wants that extra work gone. And Monroe, oh, he's sitting there, and Gagzella's gone through. And to his teammate as well, surely. No, McNaughton holds on, but Gagzella looking very opportunistic there around the outside. He may have gone a bit while he's done it. So Gagzella literally just picking up the pieces and putting together a masterclass of overtaking.
Indeed, and now he's right on the back of Mike Bell, and we believe that Gagzella's got pretty old tyres. We believe that Mike Bell's got pretty old tyres, and it's the two behind with the new ones.
And those two behind as well, Monroe and Schroten both drawing away. Pedro Mellon, the other ace defender of the afternoon, is only 3 seconds behind those guys. So we could see him maybe prove to be a factor in his PA battle.
And Gagzella around the outside. Fantastic move.
Oh, he just keeps on impressing us. Race after race this series just throws up even more impressive manoeuvres. McNaughton again on Mike Bell. He's getting so close to that rear end. Now Monroe is all over him as Gagzella tries to sail off into the sunset. And indeed he is. Just look at the distance he's pulled out already.
Yeah, he must have been saving those tyres up just for this point in the race when he's like, right, I can get what I can get. I can get 8. I'm going to go for it. That's what he's done. He's going to run off, no doubt.
And that's really what he wants to do. He's proved that very well already. Got himself over a second compared to Mike Bell, Adrian McNaughton, Monroe, Schroten, possibly Mellon, who's not too far away at all. He's only 2 seconds away, bringing Dave Finnick with him as well.
Oh, and Bell's got tyre trouble because McNaughton's just swooped around the inside of him in turn 3.
They've got binary opposites now then, as John Monroe surely will be able to just do exactly the same thing, completely fresh tyres in his GPVWC car. And then Mike Schroten as well, also on new tyres. Bell trying to defend heavily though. He won't go down without a fight, relentless in his defensive manoeuvres as Monroe again looks to the outside here. But Bell just still won't budge off. He will not get off that race in 9. He wants to hold it with everything he's got. A really solid defensive drive from him here today. But those tyres may just be trying to go, and they're almost 3 wide. They are almost, as they come down into the corner, and they can't quite get that going. Bell will not move off his line for anyone, any man at all today. He's been paced by Gagzella, paced by M'Naughton, and he will just not simply let a position go.
Oh, and Schroten into the back of him.
Oh, and that may prove vital as there goes Schroten, and all into the chicane. They're going a bit too wide. But Mellon's right on the back of them as well. Mellon and Monroe, this is going to be very interesting through the final corner, and Mellon's trying to tuck away. Finnick's there as well. The train keeps expanding. It's the Bell Brigade as they come across the line to start the final lap.
It is Jeremy Allen. Still hasn't stopped. Still leading by 7 seconds. Looks like we've got a winner there. Thomas Hazard's running in 3rd position as well.
Pretty wide into the first corner. Oh, there's contact and Mellon's off. Pedro Mellon's off and he's in the gravel. He's kept it going. I think he got sandwiched in between Monroe and Finnick. It may have been more on Monroe's half. I don't think there's much damage to the Multi-21 racing team of Pedro Mellon, which is good news for him, but unfortunate for the battle because now Mellon's down in P14. It will mean that Monroe is now going to do a lot of work to catch Dave Fiddick, but Mike Bell keeps locking those brakes, and Fiddick's going to be slowly creeping up the back stairs. Schroeten's into the sunset, but no, there's a carnage there, and that is McNaughton narrowly avoiding some lap traffic.
Now I'm having a look at who that was, and it was dearie me, Siumanis for Squire Motorsport, 3 laps down, having an instant what looked to be all by himself.
And Menno Klont and Mike Schroeten side by side. This is for P9, and Klont's trying to come back. Schroeten.
I've had Alan win the race in the meantime, with De Vries in second. Tom Hazard is going to come through to take third position, with Jacobs in an impressive fourth for United Racers. John McLean's going to take a personal best fifth, I believe, with Mikko Ykkönen coming home in sixth. Gaxella, fantastic seventh there from his teammate McNaughton in eighth position. Mike Schroeten's going to hold on for ninth. Klont 10th. Monroe's going to come through in 11th after a good, well-fought race and smash into someone over the line who has just parked on the track. That was Klont. Fiddick's going to get 12th with Mike Bell 13th. Pedro Mellon after that spin is going to get 14th, with Fogel rounding out our point-paying positions in 15th position.
And just outside we've got Matt Klipp, Louis Vedekind in P17, Hansko Mebius rounds out your top 18 in front of Wubke Hoekstra for Optimum Sim Racing, and Matt Webb for Epic Racing, who closes out your top 20. Paul Joseph in the other Royal Blue. Now, unlike his teammate who retired, P21 for him, Daniel Beck 22nd, Wayne Reed 23rd for Midori Motorsport, 24th was Chris Parr in front of Ryan Gilmore, lonely 25th there for the Simic driver. Scott Sovic in 26th for Optimum, Brandon Warren in 27th for Raptor Racing. Alejandro Fernandez crosses the line in P28 in front of Simon Smith in the back marker brigades, and Chris Williamson, who of course for Racing Team Schroeten was involved in that unfortunate incident with Patrick Fogel earlier on, cost him what could be argued as a win. And down in P30th, Eichelkamp was 31st in front of Siamanis in 32nd. William Neron rounded out 33rd. And of course what this means, the rest of these guys are retired. So it was Neron, Brad Wright, Matt Richards due to that wheel error, Lee Palmer, Eric Tveit in the Ice Cold Racing, Dave Van Gils, Sven Smits, John Hicken and Kevin Westphal. And that is all of our retirements for today's race. But Oscar, it's got to be said, what a weekend of racing that was. Despite the retirements, we've seen possibly the closest weekend of racing in the history of the Formula Challenge.
Yeah, indeed. I've seen a lot of things today, shall we say. That race 2 was hectic at best. Fantastic stuff though, and lots of personal best results coming from race 1 and race 2. I've got to say, big hats off there to Thomas Hazard, who I've barely spoke about all race and has come over in third position.
It's always a quiet one, isn't it, that seems to just sneak in there. Mr. Consistency, Tom Hazard, a very well earned, very well deserved top 3 for him. Will be delighted to stand on that podium alongside the other 2 drivers who finished in front of him. And just what a race that was though. But Fogel Motorsports overall, despite Patrick's unfortunate result, they've got to be ecstatic with that result. It's another win for Fogel in the second race. They really do shine there. And Sven de Vries as well was very nicely placed in the first race. The second race though, get himself on that podium, a great result for him.
Indeed, a fantastic result. And yeah, a good recovery as well from Fogel Motorsport. They had a dire race 1, and although Patrick was down in 15th that race after his coming together with Chris Williamson, again, bad luck for Racing Team Schroeten actually. One car getting him in the wars and the other one not even making the race start. But yeah, Fogel Motorsport, reasonably good recovery from them after what was a dodgy race 1.
Yeah, and that almost wraps out everything here from the Spanish Grand Prix in the Formula Challenge. We've got a time for just a few interviews from the drivers here today, so we'll try and get you as many drivers in the booth as we can to give you their thoughts and opinions on the weekend ahead, the weekend past, and possibly some inside information. We'll see who's willing to give some information and views on their current race. But the main thing is here today, we have seen a tremendous weekend of racing at Catalonia, and there's only more to come with the Super Cup and the Super League both tomorrow and the day after. So we've got a few drivers in here for interview at the moment, and I believe we could have our race winner with us. Jeremy, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
So, Jeremy Allen, wow, congratulations first of all on your victory. Google Motorsports, you've got one race, tale of two sides, really. You've got the win there for you, and then you've got Patrick, who unfortunately didn't have as much luck. But overall, what's the feeling like in the paddock right now?
It's pretty good. It sucks what happens to my teammate there. He had pretty good pace. I actually didn't know he was running the one stop until he actually pitted, so I just want to apologize for racing him so hard because I didn't know he was on the one stopper, and I raced him pretty hard, but it was worth it.
And obviously, some more big points for Fogel Motorsports as well. Especially during race one, I mean, you guys, again, looking very close together, had some great battles. You guys are so evenly paced. It's been great to watch all season. Is there a secret to that when you can race that hard but be that quick as well?
I don't think there's a secret to it. I've raced with Pat for quite a few years now, and we know we can trust each other. We can push each other to the edge, and there's really just no secret. I just feel really comfortable around him when I'm racing. And
surely that's one of the best things, having a teammate as well. Heading into Monaco, round 6 of the season now, possibly one of the most physically demanding tracks on the calendar. What's going to be the kind of motivations behind there? Are you heading for another victory?
I just hope I don't wreck in race one. The victory's nice, but I want to get one. I want to go up there and beat Emmanuel. He seems to be the guy in this series, and I compare myself to him every week, and he outpaced us this week, but I think he got wrecked in the second race, so was able to win.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Jeremy, and I believe Oscar has found possibly one of the most formidable defenders during race one, Mr. Pedro Mellon.
Indeed I have, and welcome to the commentary box, Pedro Mellon. Congratulations on your podium in race one, and commiserations for what seemed to be a hectic at best race two. How did you find it out there today?
It was good in the first race. I didn't practice as much as I wanted, but the pace was good. Strategy was good. I done my best, and the best was second place. Second race was a bit better because of the second corner incident. I lost my front wing and just tried to climb up the places, but it was damn hard. And the best I could do in the second race was 14th, but I'm happy with that.
It was a very, very good drive from yourself and a number of other, shall we say, front runners involved in that first lap accident. Particularly good racing fighting back through the field, or was it getting a bit rough and ready back there?
Well, in the last few laps, the last lap I had an incident, and I think maybe I could get a bit more places, but it was hard. It was really hard. The guys didn't leave me much space. I spun around in the first corner, but overall was good. But I think some guys need to learn a bit more about defending and leaving space when someone is trying to overtake them.
Indeed, and I guess just to round off, we do need to talk about your defending, something that I myself have experienced firsthand, and you seem to be putting it to good use again today, holding up Emmanuel Gaxella fairly well in race one.
Yeah, I always try my best to defend since I don't have the best pace. But yeah, I always make sure people don't have space to overtake me. Defend as the best as I can, and it was hard with Emmanuel, but he overtook me. I could do nothing, but I think as well he made a few moves that I don't think that are right in regulations, but we will see.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations on your race one and what was indeed a valiant effort once again in race two. Now, pass back over to Liam now, as we have joining us in the commentary box a race regular here in the Formula Challenge, and someone who I believe achieved a season best result today, John McLean.
Indeed, John, fantastic display there during race two. You must be feeling elated and a bit relieved after that. You were really put to your paces today.
Actually, contrary to that, I'm feeling rather gutted because I had a bit of contact with Menno Klont, I think it was, on the last lap. A similar incident where I could have, where in the opposite situation, I was on the outside of that turn. I managed to go through without incident. So I don't know whether that's going to be reviewed, and passing 16 people to be dropped another 5 places from a penalty is going to be quite devastating, but I expect that.
We'll wait and see what happens, but if you kind of push that aside for now and focus on is what a heroic drive you did. I mean, as you say, you drove through quite a lengthy number of cars there today, and really, one of the big faces there, you got quite a lot of camera spotlight, and overall the weekend you had a fairly strong race one as well. What's your kind of like overall look back on it? You know, you thinking quite positive, or is that kind of penalty scare kind of bring you down a little bit, do you think?
It was a good race. I mean, race one, I started on the roof of my car and still finished on the lead lap, so I was quite impressed with that. Race two, as I said, starting from 21st to get up to as high as, I think I was third at one point, maybe second, but then the pit stops and whatnot. I was quite impressed by overtaking Mike Bell, I think, around the outside on turn 3. That was possibly the highlight for the whole race for me. But yeah, it was a good event, and I reckon only upwards from here.
Okay, and obviously the next race is Monaco in 2 weeks' time, and if this grid penalty does, come to come to rise, and you do find yourself 5 places down, do you think at Monaco it could be one of the worst tracks to have it?
I think having 40 cars around Monaco is going to be, regardless of where I am on the grid, it's going to be hectic. And I don't expect to finish the races unless I get very, very lucky, because, again, the first race I had today was quite smashing, I think is the best word.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, John. We hope everything settles down for you and you can start Monaco from a good position, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, cheers, man.
And over to Oscar, and Oscar has got himself another formidable defender, Mike Bell, who was just honestly incredible up there with Pedro Melin's defensive standards today.
Indeed, and we saw that come really to light in race 2 when you were running towards the front there, it's fair to say, Mike, and looks like you got swamped a bit towards the end. How was that race for you?
Very unusual because, I started way back in the field because I had a pretty poor race 1, just managed to get around the race 2 incident, and then I thought, you know what, I've got quite a speedy setup, I'll just see what result I could get by defending, and I think I got into a high of about 5th place at one point, but a few incidences of contact with a couple of people were knocked me back a bit, but oh well, some very nice defending. It's great being up there with guys who are about 4 seconds a lap faster than me around here, and still being able to race them. A lot of fun.
Indeed. Sorry to rush here, but got lots and lots of people interested in talking. Any final thoughts for you on this race, and any thoughts looking forward to the following round at Monaco?
I'm just hoping to get through the Monaco races with 2 finishes.
Well, indeed, congratulations on your race 2 today. Commiserations for being one of the unlucky few to get involved in the race 1 incident. I'm going to pass over now and probably be our last interview for this evening to a newcomer in the league who showed well today, but maybe had a few strategy calls that weren't perfect, and that's John Munro. Take it away, Liam.
John, making your transition from touring car racing into the open wheels. You said it's your first time in open wheel racing, started second on the grid. What happened during the first race for you? Was it just simply a bad strategy call?
Oh, I'm not really sure. I was just, I was running quite comfortably in third, and I literally had no idea what everyone was going to do, if they were going to pit or not, because I'm not really familiar with these races, and as you say, I didn't really know how the tires were going to last. But they seemed to be feeling great after about 8 or 9 laps. I was just pushing at a good pace, and then I literally got to lap 11 or 12. Everyone else had pitted, and I just started completely dropping off the cliff. So I thought, right, I think I'll pit. And then I pitted, and somehow it came out in like 9th position or something, and then didn't gain any positions back. So I was just kicking myself, to be honest. Just really the regret that I shouldn't have pitted, and maybe if I'd kept on going, I would have got a better result, and definitely wouldn't have had a puncture like I did in race 2, because that was just a accidental mistake with the not loading the right car setup. So I'm a little bit disappointed, but yeah, I mean, happy with the top 10.
Yeah, and obviously going into race 2 as well, you said that you weren't going to pit that time. How did the second race pan out for you compared to your first?
It was kind of the opposite, to be honest. I mean, I was on the wrong setup to begin with. I forgot that, I assumed that the setup was the same for both races, like it was from quality to the race, and forgot to actually load the correct one. So I was running one with much higher tyre pressures just for a fast lap. So I didn't realise this, of course, until halfway into the race. So I think I started in 8th, managed to get past the wreck somehow. I think I kind of merged through it a little bit. I was directly behind it, so a bit lucky to get away with that one. And then, yeah, just as I went through the race, it didn't feel as comfortable, not as fast as the race before, and the tyres were going off a lot quicker. I thought, that's fine, no, I mean, I don't want to make the same regretful decision. So, of course, this time, being on the wrong tyres, they just completely destroyed themselves, and I got a puncture on lap 12 when I had a 20-second gap back to 4th. So, once again, a bit of regret. I think I just got them the wrong way around, and yeah, it's disappointing, but I've not got too much to complain about. I got 2 finishes, and now just trying to get this season, back on track and try and get some good top 5s.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, John, and we'll see you in 2 weeks at Monaco.
Thanks.
Oscar, so quickly just before we go then, Monaco Grand Prix coming up, we've seen what sort of defending, what sort of attacking can be shown in this league today. We've seen the likes of Pedro Mellin, Mike Bell, leaving it all out on the circuit. What's going to happen at Monaco when literally it's all about defending?
It's not about defending at Monaco, it's about track position and making it through turn 1. I mean, if you get through turn 1 and you're in 4th, then you could probably bank on finishing 4th, provided you don't go flying off into the harbour at some point. It's one of those tracks, it's going to be hectic, it's going to be mayhem, there's no real avoiding it, there are going to be big crashes. And that's just what we're going to have to expect next time out.
Okay, well, massive thank you for calling with this race with me here today, and thanks to our cameraman, Simon Mellowish as well. But that's just about it from us here at the GPVWC Formula Challenge. If you like what you've seen here today, don't forget you can catch all the broadcasts this week, including the Super Cup and the Super League from Catalonia, with commentators Nick Rowland and Simon Smith, I believe, calling those for you. But from us here today at Catalonia, it's goodbye, take care, and we'll see you at the chaotic Monte Carlo in 2 weeks' time.